Hey everybody, it's David Bayer. So excited to be here with you today. I have a special guest, a man who needs no introduction, a true icon of personal growth and motivation, and a guy who I think it's okay for me to call my friend.
Without any question.
Without any questions, I'm with Les Brown today. Les, thank you for taking the time to be with our community and with me again. I know you're busy. Like I said when we were sitting in the waiting room, like I'm just trying to keep up with your clubhouses. but because Les has one of the biggest rooms on Clubhouse and is just constantly motivating, inspiring people. But thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you always. You give me energy and power and fuel.
Well, I'm just giving back what you gave to me, as I told you, during a time in my life where I had no power and no energy and fuel. And there was a guy whose voice I put into my ears because my own thinking was not enough for me to move into a powerful living experience. And you lifted me up in my time of need. So I'm always going to be grateful to you for that. And I know you've done it for so many millions of people. And you know, you haven't just done it for others, but
there's only one David Bayer.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Les, you know, we've got a lot of people from our community who are coming. They're excited about the event that we're going to be doing. I have not formally announced it yet, but you're going to be joining us at Phenomenon 2021 as our sole guest speaker, really talking about the power of story, the power of presentation, and the power of creating emotional experiences and growing your business, and how that is, in my opinion, the number one most effective strategy for building rapport, for connecting with people. And you and I reconnected a couple of weeks ago. Just for those of you who don't know, I met Les back in 2015, I think it was. 14, maybe 2014. I think it was before Carol and I even had an idea of what this business was. We just had a spiritual vision because I had gone through drug addiction and alcohol addiction and sex addiction, and I had found a way to get to the other side. And I saw that pretty much everybody I knew is in some form of addiction. They were addicted to feeling not good enough, or addicted to judging themselves, or addicted to not having enough time. And so I thought, well, I got to go out and learn how to share my message. And there's only one guy that I know who I'd want to learn from, and that was Les. And I went to Fort Lauderdale for a couple of days and learned how to become a world's greatest speaker. Like, that was the foundation of where I've started. And I'm so grateful for it because everything I do is about presentation. Everything I do is about telling a story. Even when I run my Facebook ads, it's about telling a powerful story, you know, within the characters of a Facebook ad. And so it's been the most valuable tool that I have acquired, which is why I absolutely had to have Les come to Phenomenon 2021 and teach on the power of your story and the power of speaking. And then, Les, we reconnected like a month ago now. Time flies. Mm-hmm. And you had reached out to me, and I have to say, there is I have never had an experience, and I don't expect that I ever will, that will be as impactful as when my director of sales messaged me and said, I have Les Brown on the phone and he wants to talk to you. And I said, will you tell whatever Les Brown impersonator you're on the phone with that I'm too busy? And she said, no, I actually think it's the Les Brown. And then we spoke, and I was so impressed because you're at a point, how old are you now? 76 years old?
76, yes.
76 years old. And what you said to me is, listen, I've been watching you from afar, and I, Les Brown, am not about to slow down, and I'm about to take my impact and my legacy and my platform to the next level. And I want to know everything that you know. And we started what was a very unexpected conversation.
Yes, because I believe you're never too old to learn and you're never too young to teach. And you master systems and helping people to maximize their talents and their presentation skills and their story and put it out in the universe on steroids. No one does it any better.
Well, I appreciate that. And I am, you know, that was through my own need to get my message out there, right? We talked about this. Like, Carol and I were taking a lot of programs from really great teachers out there, but there are so many strategies. And also, as a visionary entrepreneur, and you can probably relate to this, there are a lot of opportunities. And so, you know, how do how do you develop a level of focus that allows you to realize your full impact and your full income and your full potential? Because there was a period of time where we had our fingers in a whole bunch of different things, and we didn't have the level of opportunities that you have. And over time, Carol and I did find a way to create a streamlined business, the scalable offers, the right type of messaging, the right strategies at the right time, because all strategies are not equal. And that has lent to our growth. Where are you right now and what you're wanting to create? I mean, everybody wants to know, like, what is Les Brown looking at mastering now, because you are the master of what you do. Like, what are you focused on trying to create right now, and what are you wanting to learn?
Powerful storytellers. Tom, not Tom Cruise, but I was going to say that Tom Cruise said we might be through with our past, but our past is not through with us. And I think that what we can do, and what's a very important work for us to do, the greater work, is to help people to get past their story. And Steve Jobs said the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. And he said the storyteller sets the vision, the values, and agenda of an entire generation that is to come. So we have the ability with storytellers to change the course of history. And we don't have enough now. We need more people like you and Carol and other people that you've studied with to begin to shape the agenda and create a different kind of culture. And that takes work, but something that Mike Millett says, which is real, that if we focus, put in the effort and the time, there's nothing that we can't do. If we're not willing to learn, nobody can help you. But if you're willing to learn, no one can stop you. And you are a perpetual student. When I was listening to you, when we had our interview, I said, you met your match up in here, up in here. You read everybody. I said, whoa, this is shocking, because most people out here talking about stuff and they don't study. You're the messenger and you are the message. You have lived a challenging experience, but you put in the work and effort to learn everything that you possibly can on how to begin to alter one's consciousness and one's vision of oneself. And that, to me, I have a great deal of respect for that. And so I love the fact that you're not just some guy that memorized a good script and going out here doing an information dump. No, you study a variety of people. Various quotes when I was listening to you, and one of the guys that you adhere to is Joe Dispenza. Joe's a bad boy. Let the record show. And so when you look at Joe and Bruce Lifton, and when you look at the brother who did the psycho-cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz, yes, that I studied all these guys, and to liberate myself, to strip myself of my past. And once I was able to step out of my history into my imagination, I began to look at how can I impact other people and liberate them from living a small life, because you can't fit a big dream into a small life. And so I wanted to do basically three things. One, give people a vision of themselves beyond their mental conditioning and their circumstances. Two, decrease the level of unconscious self-loathing that most people experience being brought up in a culture that marginalizes them and dismiss and demonize them. And three, encourage people to have a sense of worthiness, where they come to feel that life is God's gift to them and how they live their lives as their gift to God, and to create collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships that can move them in the direction of their destiny.
Unless you said a lot there that was just incredible. Like, I wish I was taking notes. But you talked about story in two ways. You said story paves the future, right? It's the storytellers who will dictate the future that we live into. And at the same time, we have to overcome the story that we've been telling ourselves in order to liberate ourselves to the possibility of that future. How do you help people relinquish the story that they've been telling themselves, that story of self-loathing? Like, how do people overcome that story, a story that you overcame for yourself?
You have to take them through a significant emotional event. That's when people are transformed. When people get a chance, when you are exposed, what you tune into, you turn into. People to an experience. Oliver Wendell Holmes said that once a man or woman's mind has been expanded with an idea, concept, or experience, it can never be satisfied to going back to where it was. So when you can begin to expand their mind, get them out of their history, and allow them to live in their imagination. Einstein, as you know, said the imagination is the preview of what's to come, and have them to focus on that. And next, increase their sense of worthiness. People don't move unless they create an experience for themselves where they feel, I deserve more. And you create a level of discomfort where they have become satisfied to the extent where they say to themselves, I've had it. There's an old saying, you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. However, if you know how to strategically communicate with your story, you can create a thirst where they want to drink. When they say, I've had it, I don't want to live here anymore. And they want to do something else with their lives. They want to move to another place and give themselves a promotion because they believe that they deserve more out of life.
Yeah, that's amazing. By the way, if you have a question for Les, or you just want to say hi to Les, go ahead and type it in the chat box. Les, you've spoken to a lot of different types of audiences. You've spoken to people who weren't business owners, who were civilians and lay people, right? And have lifted their spirits. You've spoken to organizations. You've spoken to executives. I believe that story and presentation, as a result of its ability to create emotional experiences, which is what you just talked about, is the number one way that we can market ourselves as entrepreneurs. And do you see any difference in telling story, whether you're sharing a story to a group of moms who need to build a higher level of confidence for themselves, or senior executives who are looking for marketing solutions? Like, is story a universal influencer?
Without any question, it becomes a driving force, and the core of your message is just the examples, the quotes, and the kind of energy that you put around the story that creates special moments in the presentation and openings in your presentation so that the audience comes in and they begin to embrace your story as their story. That's very important because people are always asking three questions. Who are you? What do you have? And why should I care? And so the reason that they will care is because you brought them into your story. You've created an opening. You know, case in point, I was talking to a friend of mine, ladies and gentlemen, named David. And David had gone through a lot in life, as most of us. How many of you look back on your life and realize there are points in your life you look back and say, what state of mind was I in when I was living like that, when I was doing those things, the people that I was around, the places that I was going to, the choices that I was making? And David had an awakening where he said, this is not me. See, ladies and gentlemen, what I've come to know from my own experience, that most of us go through life living a misplaced life. And my friend David, he realized that he had greatness in him. My friend David, he realized that he was living a misplaced life. And when he and Carol, his wife, got together, he began to discover a part of himself. Because of her love, because of her support, she took him to a place in himself that he could not go by himself. Because of this hunger in him to do something different with his life, to live a life that will outlive him, as all of us want to do. All of us want to make a mark. It was Horace Mann who said, we should be ashamed to die until we've made some major contribution to humankind. And that became a driving force, a passion. He decided to take his pain and make it his purpose. and not only changing his life, but changing the lives of millions of people around the world, including mine. And as a result, the world is a better place because of David's decision. We make our decisions, and our decisions make us. So I created openings to bring the audience in there. Could you hear it?
Yeah, unbelievable, right? And the story, even though it's the details of my story, even when I'm telling the story about the last time I smoked marijuana and putting the pot in the garbage can and driving back to pick it up, right? It's like someone may not have had that exact story, but they've had an experience like that. We've all had something we wanted to stop and we couldn't stop. We've had this feeling, like you said, of wanting to be called to a higher level and moving through something. And so that relatability is so key to story. Les is going to be talking about story at day 3 of Phenomenon 2021, and we're not going anywhere, but I want to give you guys an opportunity. If you want to join us, we're going to be spending 3 days at Phenomenon 2021. So most of you know, every year this year, we do the Powerful Living Experience Live, 3-day transformational event, named a top 3 must-attend personal development event for entrepreneurs by Inc. We're not doing it this year because of the blessing of COVID. And so as a result, you can experience some of the deepest curriculum and transformation and community that we've ever put together through this virtual event, Phenomenon 2021. Les is going to be there doing a training on exactly what we're talking about, how to utilize your story and unpack your story and create emotional experiences in your business so you can grow your business. And we'd love to have everybody join us. So real easy. I'm sure the team is putting links into the comment box. We are limiting the number of attendees for the event. I think we've got around 500 people registered so far. We're capping it out. Les has been kind enough to promote it to his audience, and we're promoting it to ours. So absolutely a full day on our transformational technologies, the types of stuff that Les was alluding to, really leading edge, going beyond self-awareness and changing the way that you think. Day 2 is going to be all business strategies and tactics. So getting the foundations in place that you need to start, grow, or scale your business. And also 3 key strategies. 3 strategies really that we recommend at every stage of growth. And then day 3 is going to be superhuman habits. Before we get into my personal practices and the health, wealth, and relationship strategies, Les is going to bless us with a conversation around speaking and story and presentation with, I'm sure, a little bit of motivation on day 3. That's $197 to join us. We've never made this level of what we've put together available at this level of investment. And so every single one of you, I encourage you to join. If you haven't yet, click on the link, get your seat, and we'll see you April 23rd, 24th, and 25th. So Les, I know a lot of people have a question around whether or not they have a story. They hear great keynote speakers like you tell their stories. Being educably mentally retarded and going through the story of what your teacher had said to you, and you going through some form of learning disability or building your business and sleeping on the office floor and showering in the bathroom. And we hear these other speakers who say, you know, like they were out in the wild and they got caught somewhere and had to cut off their own arm. And so people go like, I don't have a story. I don't have that story. I wasn't crawling out of a garbage bin with marijuana, you know, in the depths of my addiction. Does everyone have a story?
You don't need to have a story. Marianne Williamson, do you know Marianne Williamson?
Yes.
You've heard of her, right?
Yes.
She wrote a book called The Return to Love. She wrote a book about a book. She read Course in
Miracles.
Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
Helen wrote that book. Helen, who wrote the book, she was an agnostic and she refused to let her name be put on the book, Course in Miracles. But that book changed Marianne Williamson's life. And so Marianne Williamson went around the world. She wrote a book called Return to Love, and she just gave speeches about A Course in Miracles. That's why she will always preface it with, according to A Course in Miracles. And that's how she communicates. That's not her story. She wrote a book about a book, and she gave speeches around the world on that book, A Course in Miracles. So you don't have to have a story. You can have somebody else's story that has inspired you, that moved you, that caused you to look at life differently, or that caused you to begin to question yourself. Am I making the right decision? I remember when I was in the airport, when I was diagnosed with 4th stage cancer, And a guy woke me up in the airport. He said, "You're Les Brown, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Man," he said, "my PSA, which stands for prostate specific antigen, has been as high as 2,000, just like you. You're going to be all right." And just walked away. I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I believe in angels." He said that to me. I had just left Houston Hospital, MD Anderson, and they told me that I was 4th stage cancer. And cancer is the most feared word in 7 different languages. And when he left, I just, wait a minute, sir. And he just kept walking. But he left me with those words ringing in my ears, and all of the procedures that I went through with MD Anderson, with the Cleveland Clinic, at Ohio State University, at Cancer Centers of America, where I am now, that stayed with me and it propelled me. And so that is an act. All of us have gone through something, and if they haven't, all they have to do just keep on living, because stuff happens to you or stuff happens to someone that you care about. And all of us are knocked senseless. I remember something former heavyweight champion Joe Frazier said. He said, all of us at different points in our lives are like a blind man standing on the corner, waiting for someone to lead him across the street. Yet all of us at some point in our lives, we can't see our way, and we need someone to take us by the hand and say, "I got you," and to take us across the street through the traffic so that we don't get hurt even any more than we are now hurting. And so this thing called life is difficult. It's full of pain. It's full of suffering. Viktor Frankl said, unavoidable suffering. It's a part of the process of living. And what we have to learn to do is how to navigate it and ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong, and ask for help and don't stop until you get it.
Les, how do you move forward through the challenges of your life when, sometimes they come one after another? Like, there are a lot of people who are having a problem just getting focused on a daily basis, believing that they are the one, spending so much time trapped within a psychology of impossibility, and then life comes along and is readily willing to support you in the impossibility. Like, you've had a lot of challenges in your life. Like, were there times you got stuck in them, or is there something that you've done just to keep moving forward? How do you keep getting back up?
Focus on the challenges. Focus on where you're going. Keep it moving. I remember when I lost the first home that I bought for my mother, because I didn't do a title search. And I'll never forget when I was standing behind the truck, unloading the truck, and I was crying. The neighbors were looking out and said, "Mamie, y'all back?" Yes, Leslie didn't do a title search, and we were foreclosed on, and our furniture was set outside. And my mother came to the back of the truck, and I was thinking about, here I am, back here in this home that I took her out of, back here in this rat and roach infested house. And that's all I can think about. And look at people looking at me. This is so humiliating. And my mother taught me a lesson. She said, "Boy, why are you crying?" I said, "Mama, I feel so stupid. I let you down. I feel so stupid. I wanted to make you proud of me. I wanted to buy your home. I made a mistake." And she said, "Leslie?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Hold your head, boy, up. Hold your head up." And she said, "We still have each other." Now, that was major, because as opposed to focusing on the foreclosure and our furniture being set out and the humiliation of being in the neighborhood, people coming out looking, "Mamie, y'all back?" I focus on, we still have each other. And that's all I focus on. We still have each other. And I focused on that, and that was the fuel that empowered me to get another house for us within 60 days. But had I focused on what we lost, Helen Keller said, in life, that many people, when one door closes, another door opens. But most of us spend time looking back, complaining about the closed door. We don't see the open door. That was a new opportunity for me to use my talents, my abilities, my skills. I learned some things that I did not know the first time. I learned from that, and I was able to get another house, a larger house, but most importantly, I focused on what was most important. I was still with my mother. I was not having a dirt nap. She was still here. We had each other. That was most important. We went in the house. The rats and roaches were playing cards. And oh, Mamie's back. Oh, we about to have sweet potato pie up in here. Welcome back, guys.
So Les, listen, we've been talking over our last couple interviews a lot about business, and we may talk more about it, but like you're just such a wealth of transformational information because you've lived it and you are it. So I want to take advantage of it. I know, so people understand changing their focus, and in some areas of their life, they seem to be more capable of doing it than others. And especially when we get into business or a health problem or a relationship cycle, it just seems like we've been on it for so damn long. Like people have faith and then life wears them down, or they allow life to wear them down and they start losing faith. How do you handle those goals that you have, the vision that you have, that you're working towards when it doesn't feel like you're making progress and it feels like you've been running a marathon, and then all of a sudden you realize the marathon hadn't even started yet?
I did an interview this morning at 7:30.
I know.
It was 2.5 hours.
You woke me up with your clubhouse.
Yes, 2.5 hours. When they told me it was 2.5 hours, I was shocked, because when you're doing what you're supposed to do, athletes call it, when you're in the zone, your job is what you get paid for. A calling is what you're made for. You don't care how long it takes. You're not looking at the clock. You don't need an alarm clock to get up in the morning. And you don't mind what you have to go through in order to get it, because it's a part of the process. And so I never looked to the right or to the left. I never paid any attention to what I had to go through. All I kept my mind on was, I'm coming for you. And I knew in order to get what I wanted to get, I had to go through some stuff. Walt Disney, he had a cartoon named Elmer, and it was stolen from him. And he didn't miss a beat. He came up with another cartoon called Mickey Mouse, the happiest symbol in the world. So you got to stay focused. That is the most important thing, because this is the attention economy. Most of us are victims of weapons of mass distractions. Stuff is going to always happen. Before I got on the call this afternoon, I got a call from my daughter saying her mother is dying. I had to collect myself first to comfort her. That was number one. And I had to deal with me. And Maya Angelou, was Ian Levon Sant, she said, give to yourself until your cup runneth over, and then give to others from the overflow. And you know this to be true. When you are answering the call on your life, you're willing to put in the work, you're willing to pay the price, and you don't care how long it is. But if you're just doing it for the money, if you're doing something that's not you, then it's going to be very stressful and very challenging. But when you're doing something that you're like your gifts, that's your superpower, I believe in angels, that you'll find a way to win. And you don't care how long it takes. When will a baby walk? It will walk when it walks. When will it talk? It will talk when it talks. We don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know. And sometimes things are going to work out fine. Most of the times they won't. So I'm going to keep falling forward. I have a saying, if life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up.
You thank you for that, Les. You're speaking into something that those who have been in our programs who are in our community, many of whom are here on this live stream, know as the spiritual vision. And so when entrepreneurs are wanting to grow their business or start a business, they very quickly want to get into the how to do it. And we slow them down and we get them into the, well, why are you doing it? What are the unique gifts, the talents? How has life intelligently architected you through the challenges and through the experiences to set you up to actually make a difference in the world? Because that is the work for you to be doing. And you're 100% correct. If you're not connected to that, then you're an opportunity-based entrepreneur, not a spiritually based entrepreneur. And so connecting to your spiritual vision, your vision, right? I mean, I've heard you say so many times, I think you quote the good book, those, who have no vision shall perish. And so it's critical. And so for those people who are listening to us saying, I want a purpose, I want a vision, I don't know what it is. I've been working in corporate for a while. I know that the work that I've been doing isn't the work for me to do. How do you find vision when it is such an anchor in the future and it is the focal point that you can turn to rather than the challenges? How do people find clarity around what they're meant to do here when they don't yet have that clarity?
I don't buy that they don't know the vision. They do know it. Who are we going to talk to? Their neighbors, their cousin, an uncle? They know what it is. What they're doing is they're stifling the voice that's in their heart and listening to their mind that says, I don't know the vision. Where your heart is, there your treasure is also. And so what I say to people when they say that, I said, what if you did know? But I don't know. I said, I understand. I said, but what if you did know? Go in your imagination. Give me some idea. What would that look like? 99% people come up with an answer. And so what we have to do is realize you can't read the label when you're locked in the box. That's why it's important, the work that you and Carol are doing. You have to have somebody with a trained eye, somebody with experience that can take you to a place in yourself that you can't go by yourself because you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. And just think about sporting teams. When a team loses, they don't fire the team. They fire the coach. Why? Because that coach can get something out of them that they can't get out of themselves, regardless how talented they are. Michael Jordan, considered one of the greatest basketball players of all times. Michael Jordan has won some championships, but he never won them without Phil Jackson. And Phil Jackson has won championships, but he's won them without Michael Jordan. So you have to have a coach, someone that can see what you can't see and be able to call it out, to extract it. I had a lady tell me she didn't have any story. When I finished with her, oh my goodness, her story was breathtaking.
Yeah.
I said, baby, look here, I don't smoke, I don't drink, but I need some reefer up in here. I said, my goodness, this is just too much. Sometimes you think you got some problems, you listen to somebody else's problems, and say, you know what? I'm fine.
You talk about the importance of mentorship. And I guess I have two questions for you. I'll ask the first one. You've talked about your mentors. You've talked about Mike. Who are the most influential people on you in your life, and how did you find them?
Mike Williams, he found me. He was my newsman. I was the program director at WVKO in Columbus, Ohio. And he said, hey, Brownie, you know why you go and see Zig Ziglar and Dr. Norman, Vincent Peale, and Robert Schuller? I said, yeah, I like the message. He said, no, not just that. He said, that's in you. You love people. You love to make people laugh. You got a funny laugh. You're always holding court. When people have problems and challenges, they come and they talk to you. That's who you are. And I didn't see that. I didn't think anybody would want to hear anything I had to say. Being born in an abandoned building on a floor, being labeled educable, mentally retarded, put back from the 5th grade into the 4th grade. You can't see in your own eyes. And so I said, man, I don't know how to do that. I never worked for a major corporation. And how can I compete with people with PhDs and MBAs? And how would I develop the credibility that AT&T, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's Corporation, IBM, Xerox, that they would hire me? And these are clients of mine. He said, Brownie.
And by the way, this is, I so appreciate this because this is the psychology of so many people who are listening that are being called to their next level. And that's the thinking that kicks in.
Yes. And he said, when there's an argument, and he was quoting a friend of mine, when there's an argument between your mind and your heart, follow your heart, because where your heart is, there your treasure is also. We've been conditioned to be logical and to be practical in our thinking. There's some things that we can do that we don't even realize that we can do. Sometimes you have to be intelligently ignorant, that you don't know what you can do. That's why we are taught, eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor is in it the heart of mankind what God has in store for you if you're willing to be a risk taker. This God said, if you're not willing to risk, you can't grow. And if you can't grow, you can't become your best. And you can't become your best, you can't be happy. And if you can't be happy, then what else is there?
So powerful. And, you know, the critical nature of mentorship. And I think a lot of people now have virtual mentors. I mean, you were a mentor of mine before I even met you. I'm a mentor to many people in my community. Some I know, some I don't. And then when you look at creating a business, because you've really transitioned, I would guess, over the last decade, right? I mean, you were out there as probably the world's most impactful keynote speaker that the world has ever seen. And now you're focused more on developing a business, a platform, a legacy. There's this incredible opportunity with the new virtual world to have an even greater impact because we're all connected virtually. And yet, and I know this because I've experienced it, and you and I talked a little bit about it when we reconnected, it's a confusing marketplace. It can be challenging deciding who you choose as a mentor in business. Sometimes you choose a mentor who you think is the right one, and you go and you execute on what they recommend you do, and it doesn't work. How do you apply the whole mentorship concept? Like, what do you look for in a mentor related to your business?
Results don't lie. You know, you got people out here saying, I can help you get branding and don't nobody know them, including their parents. Come on.
No, you're right. There's a lot of like, I'm going to teach you how to do a podcast, but you never heard their podcast. Yeah, it's a strange thing, isn't it?
So I mean, just you. I said, I have a lot of choices, and all the players in this game, they know me. I chose you because your systems, they don't lie. They produce results. Judge a tree by the fruit it bears. And then I wanted to vet you because a company, all of us go through this experience. People asking the questions, who are you? What do you have? And why should I care? And if you remember, I came downstairs and I talked with you and Carol. And then I got up after a while and gave my son the chair, said, sit here, John Leslie. And I went upstairs because I saw what I was looking for. I was wanting to know about you, your character. We have 3 lives, as you know. We have a public life, we have a private life, and we have a secret life. And in that time that I spent with you, vetting you, watching you, listening to you, you're very honest. You were transparent and very open. And I felt you in my heart. I closed my eyes, I listened to you, and I looked at you and I watched you. And when you turn 76, you know a thing or two. This is not my first rodeo, all right? And so you know who's the real deal. And let me share this with you, to everybody. I made a mistake in my business. One of the mistakes that I regret. I got hurt. Somebody embezzled $420,000 from me. And after that, I hired someone that I can trust, that was honest, but incompetent in this area. And I lost millions of dollars. Why? Because I was playing not to get hurt. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get ripped off. It's a part of the process. That's why Forrest Gump said life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. I remember I found a guy asleep on the job, and I put a note in his hand that says, as long as you sleep, you got a job. He woke up, he read the note, he just went back to sleep and started snoring. This is a true story. You can't make this stuff up. I was wondering about that. Say, what will he do? And he went right back to sleep. He could sleep as long as he could because
You told him. You told him. It's business is such an incredible metaphor for life. Like, one of the things that I believe is that business is one of the greatest opportunities for spiritual growth that you can ever have, because there's, not only are you interacting with yourself and working against what you're capable of or for what you're capable of, but there's so many dynamic relationships, vendors, partners, team members, your relationship with money, marketing. It's an unbelievable opportunity for growth. And just like life, to your point, what we've been talking about, you're going to have experiences that don't go the way that you expect them to. You're going to have experiences that aren't what you prefer. But what I've seen is that there's a guiding hand. And I feel very grateful that I feel that hand guides the people who are ready for the next level of their own personal growth and the next level of their business growth to us. And that's what we're committed to. And so, but again, just like your personal relationships, it is part of the game. So I just so appreciate you articulating that. It's because a lot of people will go out and have a couple of experiences that don't end up the way they expected to. We could call it getting burned, or they pay a lot of money for a program that didn't deliver what they expected it to. And they use that as a reason to quit. But that's really what it is. Like, they're just too ready to quit, and they're not focused on the must of achieving their spiritual vision.
David, 8 out of 10 millionaires have been financially bankrupt. Walt Disney filed bankruptcy 7 times, and he had 2 nervous breakdowns. You will fail your way to success, and people must know that, and that you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started.
Yes.
Be great, but you're going to fail your way to success. Walter P. Chrysler, he failed 49 times. But let me tell you about another guy. He wanted to start a soda business, and I think he called it Topicola. I'm not sure exactly, but I remember as a kid. And somebody beat him to the punch. So he came up with, let's say, Cola 2. Then somebody else came up with Cola 3. Then somebody else came up with Cola 4, 5, and 6, and he stopped. And then somebody took his formula that he sold for nothing and came up with 7-Up. Okay, you just don't know. I mean, man, when I spoke in the Georgia Dome before 80,000 people for 34 minutes, I had no idea. The most money I'd ever earned in a year up to that point was around $80,000. I had no idea that I would be able to earn over $100,000 in 34 minutes. And then shortly thereafter, I went to Salt Lake City, Utah. And in a 90-minute period, I made $410,000. I had no idea that I had the ability to do that. My daughter asked me, what was the most difficult part of earning your first million? And I said, to believe that I could do it with no college education, to believe, no business experience, to believe that I can compete with people in the same market with PhDs and MBAs and more intelligence and a little pinky finger than I have in my whole body, that I could compete and become a dominant force and be able to get my piece of the pie, to believe that I can do it. They did this study, and the study indicated what was the common denominator of top business people and leaders, and they discovered 85% got to where they were because of mindset, attitude, 15% because of strategy. So your mindset, mental resiliency, how did you get back? How did you come back from abusing yourself in so many ways, and you're still here? And now you are taking your pain and created purpose. You are helping people who are stuck in that place where you once were and sharing with them, if you want to get out of there, there's nothing as powerful as a made up mind. Stay away from the people, the places, and things. You want to get out of there? Listen to what I'm saying to you. Make the decision. We make decisions, and our decisions make us.
Yeah, and that's exactly why, Les, the foundation of everything that we're helping people create is mindset. I mean, you could argue that it's 100% of success is this thing called mindset. And it's why we're going to spend the first day at Phenomenon 2021. That was a beautiful segue right into the event, wasn't it? That's why we're going to spend the first day all on mindset, really taking a look at what you want to create, taking a look at your own resistance to what you want to create, and helping you really transform the habits of thinking. And as Les talked about, your propensity to focus on the challenge or the problem or the impossibility or the doubt or the fear, and get you redirected into focusing on what's possible. Day 2, we're going to look at developing the skills you need to actually execute. And then day 3, we're going to go into the rest of your life. And Les is going to be there to light us up in the morning and to educate us even more deeply on what I believe is the single most effective strategy across everything. Listen, if you're doing webinars, it's presentation and telling your story. If you're running Facebook ads, it's presentation and telling your story. If you're speaking from stage, of course, it's presentation and telling your story. If you decide you want to do a podcast, it's presentation and telling your story. When I do the Powerful Living Experience, it's 3 days of presentation and telling my story. What Les and I are doing right now is presentation and telling your story. So I don't know where else the 156 of you who are with us right now think you need to be April 23rd, 24th, and 25th. If you're not joining us, I want you to take a quiet moment after this live stream and listen to what the voices in your head are saying, because likely there's some pattern of self-sabotage going on, because there ain't never going to be an opportunity to have Les and I in the same place for 3 days that you can watch from your pajamas for $197. So we've done everything we can to inspire you into your next level, and we hope that you'll join us. Les, one more question for you before I let you go, and thank you so much for the time. What is it? You talked about creating emotional experiences, and we know right from neuroscience now that there's literally a reaction in the brain. You've trained sales teams as well. You've trained executive teams. You've gone into corporations. What is the number one thing that you see an organization needs in order to become successful? When you go into an organization and they're looking at improving performance, they've hired you to come out and present to them. Is it the same conversation? Is it about transforming mindset? Is it a new level of leadership? Like, what does an organization need to be thinking about to get to the next level?
It's not information. Information, if it could change people, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy. It's about how do you take your story and create an experience. Walter Wendell Holmes said, once a man or woman's mind has been expanded with an idea, concept, or experience, it can never be satisfied to going back to where it was. When I think about the disruption I had my junior year in high school, every summer I had to go to summer school. My twin brother did not. That's why they call me DT, the dumb twin. And I was in this teacher's class who was very much like you, very positive, optimistic, encouraging person. Young man, go to the board and work this problem out for me. I said, sir, I can't do that. Why not? I'm not one of your students. I'm just here to see MacArthur Stevens. Do it anyhow. I can't, sir. And the other kids start laughing, saying, he's DT. He got a twin brother, Wesley. Wesley is smart. He said, what's DT? He's the dumb twin. And I said, I am, sir. And he came from behind his desk and he looked at me. He said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. He interrupted the story I believed about myself. And we learned through review, repetition, and reinforcement. And so I hung around him. I watched him. I studied him. I've never known my biological mother or father, but I took him on as my spiritual mentor. And I watched him. And he taught me three things. One, something that Earl Nightingale said: you don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you are. Work on yourself. Two, develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. Warren Buffett said something I love. He said, if you can't communicate, he says, like being in a dark room with a woman and wink at her, nothing happens. And then he said, the next thing, practice OQP, only quality people. And that's real. Sidney Poitier, the Academy Award winner, he said, when you go for a walk with someone, something happens without being spoken. Either you adjust to their pace or they adjust to your pace. Whose pace have you adjusted to? We earn within $2,000 to $3,000 of our closest friends. In order for people to elevate themselves beyond their mental conditioning and their circumstances and increase their cash flow, they must create collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships, people that will hold them accountable, people that will stretch them and challenge them and bring out the greatness in them.
Les, thank you so much for that. You just brought me back to the time that I think was one of the linchpins of when Carol and I really transformed who we were in our wealth consciousness. I took Carol to a very big personal development event. God bless her for going with me, because she's like, aren't you done with this personal development stuff yet? Like, aren't you fixed? And because, I was reading I was doing my 12-step recovery, and I was reading all the books. And then I went to the Landmark Forum, and I was doing the coaching, and so a friend of mine says, hey, I've got this opportunity to go to Unleash the Power Within with Tony Robbins. I got an extra ticket. You want to go? So at the last minute, he backs out. And my community knows this story because I've told it before. I said, Carol, why don't you come with me? She comes to the event. She goes, but we're not investing in anything. No more programs, right? We had just did a program with Frank Kern. I just did the program with you. We had done all the programs with Brendan Burchard. She's like, no more programs. Swear to me. I said, I swear. So we go to Unleash the Power Within. Tony's got you jumping up and down for a few days. You're believing in the vision that's ahead of you. You're no longer telling yourself the story that you came in with. And he makes this offer for business mastery, and it was $10,000. And I'm kind of looking at Carol. She's looking at me. She's like, you want to sign up for business mastery, don't you? I said, I just think it's what we need. I think it would really help us. And she goes, all right, you can sign up for business mastery. Guy seems to know a lot about what he's talking about. Let's see what he knows about business. So I go to the back of the room. I sign up for business mastery. The next day, Tony's making an offer. He doesn't even name the price. He just talks about when he was younger and he traveled around the world with a bunch of other wealthy, impactful people, and how by surrounding yourself with people who are at a higher level of income and a higher level of impact, it's the greatest thing that you can possibly do to attain the higher level of yourself. And he says, if you're interested in this program where you get to travel privately with me all around the world, go to the back of the room. So I turn and I look at Carol and I go, can you believe this guy? Like, anybody's going to fall for this. Can you imagine what this program costs? Carol has gotten up, turned around, and she is running to the back of the room to sign up for this program. And so I get to the back of the room. I say, how much is this program? She tells me the price. I go, we don't even have that much money. I mean, it was between the trips and the admission for everything, it was a $200,000 cash check to me out of my bank account. And I had just gotten to the point where I'd hit my magic number. In case anything goes wrong, I got a little bit of money in the bank account and we'll be fine. And this was beyond our magic number. And she said, we need this. We cannot continue to be the people who are pulling everybody else behind us. We have to get into an environment where other people are pulling us forward. And it was the scariest thing I ever did. I mean, I imagined in my head telling my dad, hey, you know the guy that used to do infomercials? I just transferred my bank account into his bank account. I couldn't even tell my father. I lived with it as a secret shame for 6 months while I didn't sleep. And we did that program. Was that program the best strategic information we ever got? No. But what that program was it was about putting ourselves in an environment where we could be around people who were willing to spend that kind of money on themselves. And for us to actually write a check that we never thought we could write, and to actually give away everything that we had built up and realize that it didn't kill us. And that was the day I can look back on that transformed my relationship with money. I was no longer afraid of money. I was no longer afraid of financial insecurity. I knew that anything was possible. And from that moment on, that's when I started charging $5,000 a month to start working with clients, going from $197 an hour, coaching a 19-year-old kid on his social anxiety. So I just want to say yes, 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 right? Surrounding yourself. And how did you articulate that? You said it in such an incredible way, putting yourself in an environment that is what? It was the next level of income of people, or how did you articulate that?
Collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships.
Yes.
That's very important.
Yes.
Yes. It will bring something out of you. I remember I spoke for a pharmaceutical company, and after I finished, I was at the table next to the CEO, and they had a campaign called The Danger Zone. And they were training doctors on how to create fear within their patients to take their hypertension medication. So I asked the CEO,
Wow.
I said, are you on hypertension pills? He said, yes. I said, why do you take them? He said, I want to live. I said, then why do you have a fear-based campaign? He said, I didn't think about that. I said, why haven't you called it the success zone? Appeal to people's desire to want to live. He said, can you train doctors? I said, absolutely. That contract, 1 month, 16 presentations, $640,000. Now, I don't say that to impress anybody that's watching us, but to impress upon them, they don't know what they can't do. Simba, you're more than that which you've become. He used to work for the Miami Sanitation Department, earning $35,000 a year on a garbage truck. He used to cut grass. You don't know what you can't become. Dr. Howard Thurman, who was the mentor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Albert Schweitzer and Mahatma Gandhi, he wrote Deep is the Hunger, the voice of the genuine, the centering moment. He said, there's something in each and every one of us that waits and listens to the voice of the genuine in yourself. It will be perhaps the only guide you will ever have or hear. And if you cannot hear it, all of your life, your days will be spent on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls. You had a moment in your life, a defining moment, that you said, my past will not define me, my past will refine me, and nobody, including drugs, will pull my strings. And as a result of that decision, the world is a better place today. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Les. Les, I lied because I have one more question that I'm going to let you go.
It's okay. You do it all the time.
We talked about letting go of the story that's been holding you back, and you talked about how storytellers are the pave makers of the future. And so what is the story that wants to be told right now? Like, from your perspective, what is the story that we are retiring in the world and the new story that is emerging?
I believe the story that all of us should put ourselves into is what was answered by Winston Churchill. Somebody asked him, if you had the power to come back and be anybody throughout history, who would you like to become? And he said, I'd like to become the man I never was. And so when we look at ourselves, we must think like Leo Tolstoy, a Russian author who said, as I face inevitable death, what in the meaning and purpose of my life that will not be undone or destroyed when I'm gone? The story we should tell ourselves, are we living a life that will outlive us? Because ultimately hell is what you experience when you die and you meet the person that you were supposed to become.
Les, thank you for sharing so much of yourself and your wisdom and your energy and your time with us. I know you're getting pulled in a lot of different directions, so I'm unbelievably grateful that you came here to be with our community. I'm so excited to be spending time with you at Phenomenon 2021 and for our ongoing conversations over the next couple of weeks about what it is to become a phenomenon. I have so much love for you, and I know that so many people in our community do. And I just honor you. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Well, I see you as my mentor and as my spiritual son. Tell your father he's got to share you with me. I'm putting claims on you.
I'll let him know.
I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Give Carol my regards. Remember this, sir. You married up.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me.
All right.
Love you, Les. We'll talk to you soon.
Love you. Okay, take care. Bye for
Be
now.
well. Bye for now.